Welcome to the From Lab to Patient, Garage to Market podcast with your host, Phil Crowley. In each episode, we will discuss professionals serving the tech startup market and the various issues of importance to those companies. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, crowleylawllc.com. Now here's the host of From Lab to Patient, Garage to Market, Phil Crowley.
Hi, and welcome to our podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm delighted to have as my guest today, Joe Halliday, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Talking Medicines, one of our clients, and a client that has won a very prestigious award recently, the Gold Level Award for Artificial Intelligence and Data Analytics from PM360. PM360 is one of the prime periodicals for pharmaceutical marketing people, and having Talking Medicines out of all of the other companies out there that are working on artificial intelligence being recognized for its unique contribution is really a feather in the cap of the company and Joe Halliday and her team. And I want to welcome you to our podcast, Joe.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Joe, for our viewers, could you talk a little bit about Talking Medicines? What does it do? I mean, this idea of artificial intelligence has such mystery around it for some people, but you seem to have made some products and services that people want out of it. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, of course. So Talking Medicines is a data tech company. And what we do is we have created an interface called DrugGPT, driven by artificial intelligence, machine learning, natural language processing, and LLMs. We didn't come into the market in 2024 with a new AI product and band it with LLMs. We have been working at this for years. And what we do is we address the problem that anybody in the pharmaceutical industry will recognize. It's basically people not taking their medicines. So 50% of people in the world, whichever country you're in, whichever stat you look at, just don't take their medicines. So people prescribe, doctors prescribe, patients, 50% of them don't get taken. It's a £250 billion problem for the industry. And what we do is help to decode some of that through data. So we listen to, we understand, we decode the voices of patients and healthcare professionals in the real world to try and bring to light, trying to solve the puzzle of why people don't come onto the medicines, why they don't stay on medicines, why they do stay on medicines, the clues as to what happens in the real world. So yes, in a nutshell, that's what we do.
Joe, can you give us some examples of the kind of reasons that you find that people won't take their medicines? Because it seems to me that, if a doctor prescribes a medicine and will make me feel better, and he or she uses their professional judgment to prescribe it for me, I would take it. But why are people reluctant to do that?
Yeah. And a lot of it comes down to lack of understanding. And, I started talking about the tech at the beginning. We have AI underpinning our solution, and natural language processing is a big part of our tech toolkit. And what that means is the linguistics, the way that patients speak, the way that patients understand medicines is very, very different to the way that they're prescribed, which uses a lot of medical jargon, complex names most people can't pronounce. And there is a mismatch. There's effectively a mismatch between patients and doctors and the industry in terms of communication. And, that really is the crux of what we're about, trying to bring together patients and the pharmaceutical industry and their agencies who market to them.
Now, Talking Medicines, you mentioned, has been at this for a long time. It's not that they just popped up when ChatGPT came on the scene. How long have you been working at this?
Yeah, so as a company, we've been around for about 10 years now, and we've only ever worked in this domain. So we would say we're absolutely specialists in life science, in data science, and in this specific use case of using tech to solve the problem. We've had a few eras for the company. Effectively, in the beginning, we were more of a consultancy, a tech consultancy using augmented reality, and we very much morphed into data 6 years ago, and we've been building very complex models. We have trained our own models, understanding the patient voice, the HCP voice, healthcare professional, and influencers isn't something you can do with off-the-shelf kits. So a lot of our work has been about training, creating our own training data and training models to both classify and extract intelligence from what is very messy data. So, the data that we work on could be social media, could be research transcripts. It's messy, it's unstructured, it's very different to the clinical data that the industry relies on in the early days of a drug launch.
I see. Well, now you mentioned that it seems to me you've said it took you 10 years to become an overnight success. I think some of the people who are watching are probably budding entrepreneurs who are thinking about going down the pathway that you have taken. Can you help them understand some of the trials and pivoting and obstructions that you have found in kind of getting your company to this very successful point? Because it seems to me, based on our prior discussions, that there's a lot of grit, there's a lot of determination, there's a lot of refusal to say die in the process of being a technology entrepreneur. And I think it would be really valuable to have you describe some of those processes.
Yeah, no, and entrepreneurship has definitely got ups and downs. And, I should say I'm a co-founder with Elizabeth Fairley and with Scott Cray. So 3 founders. There's a whole debate about how many founders should you have. My advice is definitely more than one, because it's a very lonely journey if you were doing it on your own. 2, very balanced. 3, just that tiny tension within, to make sure you keep yourselves accountable. So the 3 of us are founders. Personally, my advice, my own learnings have been about product market fit, getting to that as quickly as you can. People talk about failing fast, but it's really, really important. We haven't really said this, but we're located in the UK in Scotland, and we have an office over in Jersey City to really service the pharma agencies in New York. And the mindsets between the 2 markets are very, very different. We're very lucky now that we hybrid both, and we've got feet firmly in both sides. In the UK, it's more difficult, I would say, to be an entrepreneur, because there's less belief in founders and there's less money available. So there's a lot of needing to prove everything out before you can raise money, which is impossible when you're an entrepreneur with an idea, because you need that time to get your product market fit. The States has a slightly different mindset coming out of California that has kind of spread across in terms of a belief in entrepreneurship and far more championship of it. So there's quite a lot of difference between the markets. For us, the early days are difficult. There's a big angel support system, but they give very low valuations and very little money. So it's very difficult to get that runway in the early years, and it can take longer than potentially it would in the States. But our journey, I would stick absolutely behind all we've done, because what we've done is develop domain knowledge. We've developed an understanding of where to go and where not to go. So as you say, Phil, sometimes you get it right, sometimes you don't, but you have to be ready to pivot, and to basically act with your instinct, numbers, lots of experiments, and a good board behind you. So it is a long journey. Most people talk about the end part of their journey, few talk about the beginning, and generally it takes a lot longer than you think it will. So I think we're on the right path with everybody else.
Now, you mentioned that one of the aspects of your success was having the right board behind you. How did you go out and recruit people to get on your boards? And then also, I'm very interested in how you attracted my Stephen's classmate, Al Sisto, who runs Turn PLC, which is a publicly owned venture capital firm in London, to make the big investment in Talking Medicines and to participate as one of your board members.
Yeah. And again, this is kind of general entrepreneurship advice. One of our early meetings was with somebody who became our chairman, and putting a chair in early is so important. And a chair generally doesn't come in until you've also got a finance director. So appointing a chairman, a finance director, and then you really don't go down the road of an accountant and a lawyer, and you're in the right place. And that really was the beginning of us doing the right thing. And it was very early on for us. So having monthly board meetings, even when you're very, very small, you still need that level of governance. And we've put governance right at the top of our agenda, and quality and doing things the right way. And a lot of that has come because we had that structure really, really early on. I speak to a lot of other entrepreneurs who don't have boards, and they're quite a long way down the line, and it really will be an undoing. So we've had that helps with diligence in funding rounds. It helps attract the bigger funders, the institutional funders who need that structure. And in the early days, you need to learn how to run it and how to make sure your processes back it up. So we did that very, very early on, and that definitely was to our benefit. The other piece of advice effectively is networking. Our private investors, our early investors, introduced us to bigger investors. And that's how we were, for example, introduced to our sister at Turn through one of our early private investors, who is also at Turn and thought it would be a really good connection for us. So having the network, talking to people, bringing people in is effectively, a very, very good way to get to the people you eventually need to get to. And I think you speak to many who are not right for you, but when you find the one who is, and Turn have been, absolutely perfect for us in terms of the fit as our key investor. It's all been beneficial to have had that early contact and been able to develop the relationship. And now our sister is our chairman. We have other investors in the group, and we have a very stable, committed investor setup, which is all good.
Now, you seem to imply that you kind of have to select your investors carefully. I mean, is there a certain amount of due diligence that you did on your investors to make sure that they were the right kind of investors? And from your perspective, who are the right kind of investors? I mean, this is something that entrepreneurs need to know.
Yeah. And again, I think we get asked about this a lot. And I think investors hold the cards, and, you speak to lots and lots of startups, and everybody's chasing the investors, but it is worth a step back, because investors generally don't say no. They'll say, we'll keep you on the list. We'll keep you warm. We'll keep talking to you. So you believe that, you can believe naively that you're going to get investment when you're not. You might get it down the line, but you're not going to get it. So knowing that investor is at the right stage for you, that they're committed, that they're able to invest, and that you are speaking to the right investor is very, very difficult. And we probably did go sideways very early on, thinking, that we were going to get a Series A far earlier than we possibly could have done. We had a lot of conversations which were helpful. They really helped shape your thoughts and your positioning and the way that you pitch the business. But you've really got to work on the revenue. Without the revenue, you're not going to get the investment. So you're better working on your business, and the investment will follow, than chasing too many investors and not necessarily having a good shape to your business.
What benefits do you see from the advice that you get from your board and the relationship and the kind of accountability that you have to go back to the board with the news on how you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good relationship. It's a good tension to have a board and have governance and have that kind of reporting structure. And, with the right board, they can help you with contacts, they can help you with investment, they can help you in many, many positive ways. But I think it's completely right that we also are accountable as an exec leadership group to go back to the board and talk about where we are and what we're doing and how we can do it better. So I think it's it's a positive relationship, and And it's one that, as a company you definitely do need that level of accountability. We also have a number of advisors around us, including you, Phil, that we enjoy relationships with, because we need mentors and advisors to make sure we make the right decisions. So it isn't just the board. We'd say it's our wider group of professionals who have really, really supported us on our journey.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds as if the board for you is a source of strength. So it's not just the money that the investors bring or that board members bring. It's also that group of contacts, so
Yes.
that you can test your marketing plans against what others in the industry think, and then also connect up with other sources of financing as you grow, so that you're able to finance that growth appropriately.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And we enjoy, Scottish Government are one of our investors. That's one of the benefits of being based in Scotland, a very proactive government agency who are able to equity invest. So, we have different investors come with different skill sets from different places. And, we have a real mix, which is an advantage.
And you recently moved into the Barclays Bank Eagle Labs accelerator. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience and what the difference is? I remember you had a wonderful set of offices apart from other innovators, and now you're in kind of the hothouse with other people who have great ideas and are trying to commercialize them. What's that like?
Yeah, and I think this conversation stream really links back to COVID and post-pandemic. Just ways of working have changed. They've completely changed. Pre-pandemic, we all worked in the office. Having an office, there was an absolute no debate. There's no way we would have thought about anything else. So we had an office that we paid rent, and we paid heating, and we paid lighting, and everybody came in every day. And then the pandemic happened. We recruited and we gained investment during the pandemic. So therefore, we recruited from different places. We didn't think, people have got to come into the office. So we have people across the UK, we have people in Europe, and we've had people in the US. So we kind of grew our footprint. And then after the pandemic, you realize that we really do have a virtual team. Now, we've fought really hard to make sure we've got a balance, because face-to-face is so important, particularly for younger members of staff who need the mentoring, but also for team spirit, for leadership, for all of the good reasons that everybody will debate. So we reviewed where we were at and realized that we have an office, and people are not coming in every day. They're coming in maybe twice a week, maybe 3 times a week, and they may come on a day when other people aren't around. So you suddenly find that people are in, and it's not populated, and it's not really got the buzz about it. And we've never thought about co-working, but at the same time, we managed to open an office in New Jersey. So we have a second office, and we also have use of an office in London with Scottish Enterprise, which is a beautiful office co-working. So we've got 3 offices, and you realize that actually the company is where we go to. So if we're in London together, the company is there. If we're in New Jersey together, the company is there. And if we're in Glasgow, the company is there. So we realized there was a new office called Barclays Eagle Labs, where all of the tech, or many of the tech entrepreneurs in Glasgow, are based. And yes, as Phil says, we have effectively taken up residence. We really, really enjoy it, because it doesn't matter who's in, there's always a buzz there. There's great coffee, lots of space, and lots of facilities, podcast rooms, all sorts of benefits. So it's attached to Barclays Bank, but independent of it. And it's really a technology hub. And Scotland has got great tech, great data science. So it's really, really good for our team.
All right. Scotland certainly seems to be on the upswing. I'd like to take just a moment now to talk a little bit about Crowley Law. We are a boutique law firm focused on service to our clients. We are really passionate about helping life sciences and other technology entrepreneurs realize their dreams, to take great ideas from the laboratory bench to the patient's bedside, or from the garage to the marketplace, to enrich the lives of thousands or even millions of people. I'm a former physicist who decided that I needed to have some more immediate return on what I was doing than my research, which was in low temperature solid state physics. I worked in superconductivity, so I'm kind of a technology junkie. And working with people like Jo and her team is really so fulfilling for me and my team. We've got a great deal of free resources out on our website, crowleylawllc.com. I invite you to head out there and take a look at those. In particular, our ebook, The Top 10 Causes of Failure for Technology Startups and How to Avoid Them. That's been pretty popular. So we're invested in the success of companies like yours. And if you have issues or would like to contact us, give us a call in the United States at 844-256-5891. That's 844-256-5891. Or send us an email at info@crowleylawllc.com. We're here to help. All right, Jo, let's get back to you. I mean, even in the United States, I know that it is challenging for women to succeed in the technology space. And in a conservative environment that you've described in the United Kingdom, it impresses me that it may have been even more challenging than in the United States. What experiences have you had? What advice can you give to other women entrepreneurs as they pursue their pathways in this technology-oriented space?
Yeah, no, it's a challenging environment, whichever gender you are, wherever you sit. And the stats, 2% of, or less than 2% of investment from VCs goes to females. And I think we, Elizabeth and myself, we would say, we definitely have a strong female presence in our founder team. So we are female led. And the challenges are not so much in the day-to-day. I think it's the legacy. There's very little legacy. So there's very little networking. There's very few mentors. There's very few female investors. So I think it's the company you keep that doesn't encourage or enhance female entrepreneurship. I think there's a lot of fear about setting up companies. I think that for some, they feel that, they really can't stand up on the stage. And I wouldn't say that's us. I think we've fought hard for our place. And I think I think for us, we've always been driven by the market gap and what we're doing rather than who we are or where we've come from. So it's getting better. There's a lot more support in the UK, or particularly in Scotland. Mark Logan has just produced a pathway report. There's been a lot of government attention on female entrepreneurship. There's a lot of new initiatives being set up. So you can see a sea of change, but there is a big, big gap. If 98% of funding is going to men, there is a problem. I wouldn't say on a day-to-day basis we've felt challenged by it. In some ways, it gives us an opportunity because we can stand apart, we can fight our own corner. I would say personally, I don't think there are very few role models. There's very few people who can help you through. And I do think there's very few female investors who, will be in a room when you tend to present to a panel. It will tend to be a panel of men.
So it seems, though, that you and your colleague Elizabeth can be some of those role models for other female entrepreneurs.
Yeah, and we try to give back. We really do try to give back because I think, everybody's experience, there's no right, there's no wrong. It's just hearing experiences that people need to be exposed to so that you can believe. And I think if you're younger, it's probably even harder. Myself, Elizabeth, we've been through a number of companies. We've done a number of startups. We're experienced entrepreneurs. So you kind of, you take the knocks and you get back up and you realize it's not because you're female. It's just because something has gone wrong. But there are other aspects where, it's hard. It's hard to get off the ground, I think.
Now, I was struck by your statement earlier about putting together a team of founders, and you've attracted around you a team of very competent people. How do you establish, particularly in a virtual environment, the kind of company culture, that kind of provides mentorship for employees, gets them to have the feeling, even if they're not in the office, that they're part of a great enterprise, that everybody's pulling together in the same direction. How do you do that?
Yeah, no, I think we've worked hard at culture. Some culture comes naturally, other bits, you do have to work hard at. And it's particularly, for us as a company, COVID was good. We put our heads down. We really did a lot of tech R&D around our AI models. We worked well together. And we kind of kept the legacy from that. So, for example, we still do our open office on a Wednesday, where wherever you are, you dial in, everything's equal, and we just talk as a company. It's topic led. We've done that. That came out of the pandemic, and we've kept it. Friday fun every 4:30 on a Friday UK time. We do a quiz, a bit of messing around. It's just good to bond the team together. Town halls, now we do together. So everybody comes to Glasgow every quarter. On Monday, we've got a lot of the team coming in. So we've worked hard. We are very good at using tech within the company. So we're very good Teams users. We've got a lot of protocols around it, a lot of systems, so that we can really help. And we do a lot, on just checking in with people being able to flag how they're feeling within teams, so that, we can work together. So I think we've just worked very hard at it. And I think that, as a result of that, we've got quite a unique way of working, which is generally virtual. Although we do keep coming back to face to make sure that everybody checks in with each other, sees each other, and kind of sometimes you just want to look over somebody's shoulder and see what they're doing and understand it, which is very hard when you're remote. But that's why we do things like open office, where people get a bit more time together.
Well, your discussion of team and teamwork seems very apt in a startup environment, so that you've got a whole group of people with various different kinds of capabilities who can focus most efficiently on their particular area, and it kind of takes something off the plate of the three founders who otherwise are wearing multiple hats, as you would in moving the business forward. Now, you, like some other companies that are outside the United States, have identified the United States as a place where you want to have a presence, but in these days of remote communications, you made the decision that you really needed to have a physical presence and a corporate presence in the United States. Can you explain why you thought that was important to do?
No, absolutely. So we've grown out of Scotland and cover sort of from the UK. Our data science engineers and our very talented engineering team are Scottish or London based. Therefore, we want to keep the operation there. But what we've recognised is our end user, our buyer, is the healthcare advertising agencies who work on behalf of the pharma companies on their communications. So I talked about the need for better communication. So we sell to those agencies, and if you look at where those agencies, the headquarters, the budgets are, it's New York, Philly, New Jersey. So we can do a lot of work from the UK. But again, we think that meeting people, networking, you started the call talking about the award in New York. For us, that was huge, to be able to break into what is effectively a club in New York of like-minded advertising agencies. To be able to break into that from the UK was huge for us. And some of it is because we're able to come over, network, talk to people, sell, customer manage, all of the things that you need to do. And we as founders come to the States a lot because we've invested our time in customers, and we want them to know us as much as vice versa. And the team equally need to come out to hear things face to face. Even when we're in the same time zone, we find it really helps. we've started Exploring Chicago, and that customers located there, and we really enjoy being able to come between the two markets, and having the physical office is an advantage because we've got somewhere to base out of, and we feel like locals now because we've come over so much. We feel very welcome, and it's been really, really good having the two bases, and we're only 6.5 hours between the two, which is less than many people in the States spend on journeys between offices. So, it really is a psychological barrier more than a physical barrier.
All right, so you seem like you're enjoying your spot in Jersey City, and I know you've set yourself up where it's extreme. You're in an office where it's extremely easy to get into New York City. It's extremely easy to get to Newark Airport. Newark Airport has plenty of direct flights to Scotland, so you're really set up in a way that maximizes the convenience. Joe, for our watchers and listeners, what do you like most about what you're doing?
I think I'm a sucker for challenge. I love, the freedom to operate when you're genuinely creating a new market, having that freedom to operate. We don't always get it right, and we only get it right when our customers buy. So what I really enjoy are the team getting it right, because when we get it right, we know. And when we get it wrong, we've learned. So, there are, the ups and the downs are all part of the learning journey. And that is the part that I enjoy about entrepreneurship.
Well, that is great. I really appreciate your pluck and your grit and the success that you're having. And I want to thank you for joining us today. Please remember that Crowley Law LLC is available to you online with some helpful information about legal issues generally. Please contact us if you believe that we can help you. And that's it for today.
You've been tuning into the From Lab to Patient, Garage to Market podcast with your host, Phil Crowley. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, crowleylawllc.com. If you found this information helpful, please subscribe, leave a positive review, and share with others.